Hello everybody and welcome to this, and this is my thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not going to call it a full review because these things that I generally do are not full reviews because they're not written out in any sort of script. I just want to give my thoughts on movies. I know I've got a lot of new subscribers due to my Star Trek audio play. Thank you everybody who is watching and enjoying that. So maybe some people haven't seen me do my reviews before, but basically every time a comic book movie comes out, I go and see it, obviously, and I'm going to give my opinion. Now, for this one, I will put the red alert sirens on, because this movie has not come out in the US yet, and not only that, unlike with Marvel movies, where it's a week ahead of time, this is 2 whole weeks until America get this movie. So if you're American, do not stick around after the whatever minute mark. I'll tell you, I'll let the red alert sirens go off again when I'm going to start spoiling the movie, but I'll get my general thoughts first of all. Okay, so general thoughts on this one. I thought this movie was a mess. I think this was the worst comic book movie I've seen in a long time. Possibly since I can't remember the last time I was actually sitting in a comic book movie and going, oh dear, as much as that one. And I came out of the cinema and a lot of people liked it. I mean, my brother liked it a lot more than I did. I think, here's the thing with this movie. Anything that has anything to do with the main plot, the villains, any of that, is an absolute mess, and just, at one point, is ridiculously laughable. But anything that has got anything to do with the main characters is good. And it's basically an amplification of what the original movie was. I really liked the first one because of Garfield and Stone and their performances. They're still very good, and in fact they're even better in this movie because they have more to do. And, you know, Spider-Man is Spider-Man. Everything about Spider-Man is good. He's got the full-on, pretty much, he's wearing the comic book costume now, even more than Raimi's movies. He's got the teardrop big white eyes, he's wearing the comic book costume, he's doing the quips, he's being funny as he swings around. He is Spider-Man. You know, everything to do with Spider-Man in this movie is good. Anything to do with Gwen Stacy in this movie is good, because of Garfield and Stone, and the writing for those two characters and their chemistry and all that stuff. Anything to do with the main two characters is good. Anything to do with the plot or the villains or anything like that, ugh. I didn't completely hate it. I could see where some things were justified, but there was a point during the middle of the movie where I literally was sitting there going, oh god, I went into this movie thinking, you know, people are saying it's going to be bad, but let's give it a try. I liked the first one. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with some of these villains, and I just was... there was a point where I was sitting there wondering whether it could recover, and it did recover towards the end, but there was that middle portion where it just descended into utter madness and chaos, and basically the villains in this movie, their origin story is so flimsy, and their backup to becoming villains is so flimsy, it's just an excuse to get to the next big action scene. And there is literally a point in the movie where Electro, and I'm no spoilers saying he's in the movie, he's attacking Spider-Man with dubstep. I think Electro's theme was dubstep. I think that's what the idea was, electronic music for the electronic guy. That was his theme, was dubstep. But literally he'd blast and they'd be like, whoa, and that'd attack him, and at one point he actually starts playing Itsy Bitsy Spider on like some electrons and stuff. Like he was attacking Spider-Man with dubstep. Well, I actually laughed out loud at that one. I don't think that's the reaction that they actually wanted from me. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can say without spoiling stuff. It's not a good movie at all, but if you enjoyed Garfield and Stone, and if you want to see pretty much comic book Spider-Man come to life, and Gwen Stacy and all that stuff, go see it. But just don't expect much from the villain side or the plot. Just saying. Okay, spoilers from this point. Well, I said it. I said it in the previews leading up that she was in that coat. They were bringing in Green Goblin. I said, Gwen, doesn't look good for you, love. We know that Mary Jane's coming in the next one. And this was actually one of the best points of the movie, because I couldn't believe they actually did the comic book death of Gwen Stacy. Like, they legitimately, Green Goblin drops her. It's not on a bridge, but he drops her. She falls. Spider-Man sends his web out to catch her, and it snaps a neck. Wow, I can't believe they actually did the full-on thing, but good on them. Now, they do a montage at the end where you see him going like through 5 or 6 months where he's mourning and stuff. He never actually says it out loud though, but he now has the pain that comic book Spider-Man has. Not only is he looking and acting like comic book Spider-Man, now he literally has Gwen Stacy's death the way he has it in the comics, where he killed her. Like, she was going to die from that fall, but he killed her with his web. That's got to be an extra layer on top of it. Plus, you know, in this version, you've got the whole promise to her dad saying that he'd keep her out of it. And literally, if he had not gone to her and wrote that sign on the bridge and said, "I love you," and tried to say he was going to go with her and had not brought her up onto the bridge, if she was in that taxi, she would have been flying to London safe and sound. But because he went back for her, she died. And he had to live with that. And I'm glad he didn't just get over that. I'm glad we got to see that it took 5 months. I wish we could have seen more of those 5 months than just a transitional period. And I wish we could have had him vocalise saying, "I killed her," and then come to terms with the fact that she was going to die anyway. And, you know, all that kind of stuff that in a monologue that I would have been in the comics, and I guess is in the comics a lot of times when he thinks about this stuff. But yeah, I thought the death of Gwen was done quite well. Now, the way they wrapped up the fight, not so much. And they did this twice in the movie. First in the first Electro fight, and then with the Goblin fight at the end. Literally, it just ended. Like, he knocked them down, or did something to them, and we didn't get to see them taken away. We didn't see him going back up to knock him out and carry him out. Like, literally, it just ended, and they were captured. Okay? And the whole Goblin fight in general, it was video game-ish. Really, it was. It was... He had the fight with Electro, and you think you're done. Oh no, here comes Goblin. And the... how he becomes Goblin. Oh boy. If you listen to this, you've obviously seen the movie, but he is dying from the same disease that Norman has done. Now, I say this, I do think it was a good idea to basically condense the Osborns and... condense the Osborns and make it so that Norman and Harry are kind of the same person. So, you know, Harry is just Green Goblin rather than Hobgoblin and all that other stuff. So we just get Green Goblin, who is Harry, after Norman has died, but again in comic movies, and maybe he's not dead. But yeah, Harry's dying from the same thing. So he thinks that the only way to survive is to get Spider-Man's blood. Spider-Man says no, and that's why he goes, "Rah, I want to kill him." And really, again, that is literally his entire villain origin. Right, you didn't tell me, you told me no, even though you were really nice about it, and I found out that you're my friend, and God, I thought the one in Spider-Man 3 was pretty wrapped up pretty quick, but he went into there full born just from that, and he gets the blood, or the original spiders, but we find out through Peter finding his dad's laptop on a train that was used by President Roosevelt, that has the, I don't know, he has the plans on there that tell Peter that only his bloodline can be turned into Spider-Man, pretty much, which is extremely convenient. So his dad planned on his son becoming a superhuman spider person, just in case he happened to get bit by them. Wow, that's dumb. But not only that, Harry gets injected with this thing, and because it's not the bloodline, it's not that it doesn't just work, it makes him into Green Goblin. Now, Spider-Man is bit by a radioactive spider and becomes a spider. But the mutation of this, because it didn't work with Norman, somehow makes him into... somehow makes him into a goblin. From a spider. Not seeing where that came from. Then he falls on the floor having a spasm and crawls across it, and there just so happens to be, and the door literally, he like crawls across the floor, the door opens, and oh look, there's a Green Goblin suit there ready for him. And I mean, they've established that it would keep him alive when he gets in it, but I tell you what this reminded me of. This reminded me of Robocop's jetpack in Robocop 3. Where it's this thing that if he gets in it, it recharges him. It's a lame thing, and it just happens to be there. They just so happen to have it in that place, just as he's becoming Green Goblin. What a coincidence! So him being in the suit saves his life, and at the end, he's just okay. And not only that, he goes back to normal, and he says it comes and goes when they're setting up the Sinister Six thing. Now, the pointed ears and the eyebrows and the elf look, okay, that comes and goes, the eyes, whatever. But his haircut changes from fringe to spiked up. There was another movie that did that. It was called Batman Forever. They did it with the Riddler. That's the level we're getting onto here with these villains. Electro, he was the main villain for the movie and then was just the setup for Goblin. Why wasn't he just Goblin? Like, here's Electro's thing. Spider-Man, you said you're my friend. We are friends. But then I got dumped in blue stuff, and then you said you would help me, and then the police shot at me, so I hate you. And, oh, your face got put on all these screens, so I think you're a glory hog, so I hate you for that too, so now I want to kill you. Uh-huh. Okay, so that's his thing, and he has a fight, and as I said, it's just a setup for Goblin. All that movie, you're building up to this fight with Electro, and it's just a setup for Goblin. Rhino is literally there to be the comic relief. He's there as put away as a joke, and then he has the Rhino suit at the end, and he's the thing that brings Spider-Man out of retirement to go after him. But yeah, oh boy, yeah. As I said, there was a literally a point in the middle of the movie. It was around the time where fights and character things would just happen for no reason, and things were just not making any sense, which there was a lot of, but the middle portion, it just got ridiculous. Like when Harry's usurped the company by the evil executives for no reason, with no vote and no confidence like there was in the original movie for Norman. Just, no, you're fired, because we say so, even though we don't have the power to do that, and it's just me. But are the entire board even? We don't know. Again, none of this is answered. It's just... Gwen Stacy, very, very good. We'll miss her. Emma Stone was great in the role. Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield, all the stuff involving him and being Spider-Man and everything like that, he was good. And he occasionally had some funny lines. Everything else, a mess. An absolute mess. So, I'm almost hoping that Mark Webb leaves for this one, because I think this actor could do a lot better with a different director, but that's not going to happen because he's already signed up for the third movie. And I think once again, this movie is everything the last movie was, but amped up. The villain was the weak point of the last movie. There's 3 villains in this one, so the villains are really the weak point of the movie. We have even less justification for what's going on with him than we did with the guy wanting to turn the entire city into lizards. Oh, God. Yeah, so I'm not saying not go see it. If you're a Spider-Man fan, I think you'll enjoy it, but it's not good. It's not good at all. The post-credit scene, I stuck around. I was like, oh, okay, they'll do some interception as for Sting. No, it was a trailer for X-Men, which made me go, what the fuck? Because that's a completely different studio. Now, in a world where people are already going, why isn't Wolverine in the Avengers? Oh, look, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Look, they're going to be in the Avengers. Look, they got X-Men, crossover, blah. The world where the people are already confused between Marvel properties and Marvel Studios proper. You want to confuse them more by sticking an X-Men trailer, and now people are like, oh, there's going to be a Spider-Man Wolverine movie. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I did think that, but that's obviously not the case. It's just a business deal to promote the movie, so Sony are doing Fox a favour because they lent him Mark Webb. Okay, but again, I mean, if this had been a trailer for something, if this had been a trailer for Chris Nolan's new space movie, fair enough. Or something completely different, but it was a superhero Marvel movie. So you're just going to confuse people and make them think that there's going to be a Spider-Man Wolverine crossover now. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the movie. The summer did not start out well. The next one, though, you know me, I'm the huge X-Men guy, and Days of Future Past looks fucking amazing. So hopefully that lives up to all the expectations and isn't dowered by the legal things that are going on right now. I think the legal things will affect Apocalypse, but hopefully it doesn't affect this movie. Days of Future Past looks amazing, and hopefully it will knock out of the park. But I'll say this, everybody was apprehensive about this movie, rightfully so. Wasn't very good. And with that, I'm out.